Everybody smile. That means you too. All righty. Well, what's up, everybody? What's the matter, Jay?
I'm waiting on websites to load. Don't worry about me.
All right. What's up, everybody? My name is Indy, and the gentleman next to me is Mr. Jay Powell from Powell Group Consulting, and welcome to Friday's Indie Game Business. Today we have I'm gonna totally slaughter this. Ahmad Al-Natsheh. Is that how you say it?
Close enough. It's Ahmad Al-Natsheh. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. That's way better than the way I said it. And we are talking about some game development stuff. Imagine that.
Imagine that. I think I have a better time with the Middle Eastern names than I do with the Spanish name, where I have to roll the R's because I can't ever do that.
Yeah.
Roberto. So you might have a different opinion when you try some letters in the Arabic language.
For what it's worth, I think the written form, the written Arabic language is like the most beautiful language ever. It just looks really, really cool. And that could be like my Tolkien Elven script coming out, because that's what it always reminds me of.
It just came out of like a magic book, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's so cool. So, I mean, yeah, welcome. And you are coming to us live from United Arab Emirates over in the Middle East.
Correct, yes. It's basically like the country is called the United Arab Emirates, but for some reason people know it as Dubai only.
All right, see that? I just learned something. I thought Dubai was completely different than UAE, but Dubai is a part of UAE.
It's a city in the United Arab Emirates, yes.
With really tall towers.
Yes, that's quite correct.
It's where Tiger Woods goes to hit golf balls off the top of that giant sailboat hotel. Yes.
Yeah, they will go all around the city to do that, yeah.
So, I mean, tell us, we always start the same place. Tell us how you got into the industry, into games in the first place, and walk us through your career up to this point.
I'll try to summarize because it's a long story, but I started out as a musician in my university days. I was studying to be a civil engineer. Skip a few years, I graduated, gave it a shot with being a full-time musician, didn't really work, went into civil engineering. I immediately knew that something's not right, that's not what I want to do, because it includes sitting in the sun for 12 hours a day, that sort of civil engineering, not the nice office cushiony type of engineering. And I just needed a way out of it. And one of my friends recommended something called Unreal Engine. I think you guys have heard of it. And I downloaded it, and just like that, it clicked. So what I did is, through my 4 years of being a civil engineer, I continued learning Unreal Engine with all its aspects until the end of 2019 is where I made the official jump. I quit my job as an engineer and opened my own studio. It's called Khosouf Studio here in Dubai.
So what do you focus on now? So what do you do with this? What kind of games does the studio put out?
It's basically, you can say it's two branches. That's how I put it. The first branch is where I try my best to like get by and get any sort of clients that are locally based, and I create virtual reality experiences for them. Like, for example, there was the Dubai Shopping Festival, where it happens in the malls, and they said we need a VR game to attract like customers. So I created a VR game for them where you like catch the shopping bags and get tokens and get coupons and stuff like that. And the other branch is where my game development journey started, with a game called Shadow Dreams. I've been working on it for about 4.5 years now, and it's scheduled to be released by the end of the year, hopefully. So that's right now where I'm focusing mainly. It's a first-person shooter game that's basically a mix between Doom and Dark Souls. That's the best way to summarize the gameplay. And it focuses on psychological issues and dealing with them in a very visual manner. That's the game that I'm currently heavily invested in.
That's very cool. So we'll get into all the business stuff, just first.
Well, I just want to make a quick note. I like the way he explained it. We were just talking about that right there. He's like, it's a mix between Doom and Dark Souls.
That is it.
Remember we were just talking about the pitching your game just a couple days ago. And that was exactly
it's absolutely crystal clear what it is. And so that's why
you got caught immediately, yeah.
Right, and then it's like, and then if you want to go into further details, but Doom and Dark Souls, bam, it grasps on your head. Oh, okay, well, let's check it out.
I'm happy about that. Great.
So, are you planning to self-publish it, or are you going to look for a publisher?
I believe I'm gonna go with a self-published thing. Honestly speaking, maybe it's due to my lack of experience, and my lack of trust in people. Honestly speaking, but I don't know. This whole journey has been like a bathe your own bath type of thing, and I think I'm going to continue it for this game.
So that's interesting, because generally your lack of trust in people in the industry doesn't kick in until like your 8th, 9th, 10th year in games. So you're just an early learner in some ways. But let's talk about that for a second. So what are the trust issues in particular that you have with publishers? And I'm not like going to push you either way. I'm just very curious.
Yeah, I completely understand. Honestly speaking, it could come from my lack of knowledge as well. I admit that, because my interactions with publishers are very limited. Like, I tried to contact them, they hardly get back to me. One guy responded with like a ridiculous offer of them getting 70% of the profit, and I'm like, I start shut down in the process, and I'm like, cause I'll do it myself. Like, screw this, because I'm wasting so much time to reach out and find the right publisher and that type of stuff, while I could be focusing on the development and marketing it on my own.
Yeah, and that's actually why I have a job. It's because people want to do that, and they still need publishers, and so that's when they come to us. So yeah, that's part of the industry. And we had, I mean, it's not just you. We sent out a project, last week from one of our clients, and the publisher responded with a flat rev share deal, no money up front. Now the client doesn't need development funding to finish the game, so it's not like we were asking for a bunch of money or anything. But we do always want to see a minimum guarantee. It shows a vested interest from the publisher.
Exactly my point. You want to see them like at least get invested, do something. Like just throw me a bone, man.
Well, I mean, this particular publisher came back and said, "Oh, well, good luck getting a minimum guarantee because nobody does those these days." And I'm like, yeah, we deal with 700 publishers. They do minimum guarantees. And, it's one of those things that when we're told that, it's like, okay, we just drop that publisher down to, third tier options for our titles, because I think a lot of just like developers can get very tunnel vision in like, here are the 15 publishers I want to go to. I think publishers can do the very same thing. It's like, okay, so last year we signed 3 titles and didn't need to pay a minimum guarantee on it. So maybe nobody's doing it and we don't have to do it at all anymore. And that's not reality. It's one of those that, yes, I mean, you do. We had a publisher last year tell us, well, it concerns us when a developer asks for a minimum guarantee because that shows that they don't have any faith in the title. And I'm like,
so it concerns them when the developer wants to eat.
Yes, exactly. And it's like, okay, so the developer's been building this on their own dime for 2 years with no money coming in, but you're concerned they don't believe in the project. Gotcha. All right. Third tier. There you go. And, when I say third tier, it's the way that we look at, publishing options for any developer. It's like, okay, here's the first tier, the one, the best publishers, the ones you want to go to, the ones that you think are going to be passionate about it, the ones you're going to get the best deal from. And then the second tier would be, of course, one step down. And then third tier are, a large swath of publishers where, they don't want to pay a minimum guarantee. They don't want to pay, anything. They just want to go out and grab titles on a rev share basis and do minimal amounts of marketing for them and go from there. And it's just, a lot of developers don't realize there's a lot more options out there than just that. And so, yeah, I completely feel your pain.
See, that's the scary part. Definitely, you have so much more experience than me. And hearing it from you actually makes me like, okay, so maybe I am sort of right when it comes to these sketchy publishers, but I'm sure there's a good side to things. But my concern,
it's just like
My
everything else.
concern is that I'm too small to be noticed by these big publishers. That's the issue. So that's why I just cut it short. I'm like, I'll self-publish.
Okay, all right. See, this is great, and this is the way the show always goes. You know, we're going to dive into stuff that we weren't even completely planning on diving into. So, how many publishers have you talked to? How many publishers in your mind have you said, okay, these are the ones that I want to go to? This is my list.
I made a list of about 25. I reached out to all of them through the emails. 5 answered. 4 didn't really connect further than 1 email, and 1 answered with a very ridiculous general offer.
All right, so
so you can definitely say that I didn't really go into it way too far. I just I threw the, what do they call it, the towel or the flag, whatever it is, early on in the process.
So, and 20 to 25 is usually the range that we see developers go to. And the funny thing is, your rates on this, in terms of the number that got back to you, are nearly exactly in line with what we always say. So, you know, what we've learned in 20 years of doing this is 30 to 35% of the publishers are going to respond to you. So you're a little low on that, but at the same time, you got a VR title, and those are a little harder anyway. But that is completely normal. But I mean, having said that, you probably touched on maybe a quarter of the publishers that you could go to. That's covering like all 3 tiers.
I do agree. It's definitely, there's an issue on my part as well. I agree with that 100%.
So, but it's interesting because the number of responses and stuff that you got are pretty much right in line with what we always see.
Well, that's odd.
That 30 to 35 range. So, let's get into the region before we get more into the specifics of self-publishing in VR. Talk a little bit about the region in general, what people are playing, what types of games, you know, sell well, and let's start with an overview of, and we can do like the entire Middle East, or, you know, I keep wanting to say UAW, but that's the Auto Worker Union. The UAE.
Yeah. Speaking of the double, God, now I'm not sure of the country that I'm in. So speaking of the UAE, I would say that the audience is pretty mature. Like there's a lot of people I noticed that they are absolutely in love with the game. Like, for example, Dark Souls is very popular. Doom is very popular. What's it called? The younger generation obviously is way all over Fortnite. So you can say like it's not very different from the general public out there. It's the same categories that fall in within the same range.
So are they primarily playing on mobile or PC console?
The consoles are very dominant here, especially the PlayStation.
That's interesting, because typically I would have thought it would lean more towards mobile, but that's really interesting.
There is a lot of people who play mobile, but the PlayStation gamers are a lot. There is many. Like, I'm not sure about the number, but as far as I know, there's a lot of console players here.
Very cool. So on yours, are you looking at PSVR, or are you just doing, you know, Oculus, Vive, PC?
Oh, the game is not VR.
Oh, I thought it was VR. Okay.
Because of the hands, I know a lot of people like think that this is going to be VR, even though it could be a cool idea, but no, it's actually like a console like shooter game.
Oh, excellent then. Because that was my concern. I was like, you know, it is hard. I mean, we're seeing more interest in VR games than we have in a while, but it's still very, very tough. So, okay, cool. All right. So now I'm on the same page here. So
I'm actually working with a client here on a VR game, but that game takes a different direction from the shooter aspect. It's more of a mystery horror sort of game. So that one is in the works right now as well. It's called Bloodhound.
Okay. So what's the strategy? How are you looking into going and self-publishing?
Well, I started the process a long time ago, like years ago, and I already got the approval from Microsoft, so that's in the bag. They send me the dev kits and everything, so you can say inshallah, it's 100% on the Xbox going to be launched. I got everything set up. The PlayStation, thankfully, a couple of months ago, my studio became an official partner with them, so I'll be getting the dev kit soon. So I got that part down. Steam page is up and running. Epic Stores is on the way. So the way I'm looking at it, I'm just gonna publish it on all the stores, and a couple of months before the release, I'm gonna start a couple of campaigns, contact YouTubers, people who play it, do promotional stuff, alpha, whatever it is, and then do the big release.
So, piece of advice: start the
Yeah.
marketing now.
That's why I'm here.
So, I mean, because it is, and the other concern, and I still, given COVID and everything right now, I still waffle on this a little bit, but November and December are traditionally horrible times to launch indie titles and to self-publish anything, because so much of the influencer marketing and traditional marketing is completely overwhelmed with all the AAA releases, Call of Duty,
100%. Yes. I completely
whatever
agree.
else is coming out. I haven't even looked to see what is actually planned for. And on top of that, you're going to have 2 console releases.
The new
So
consoles, yes. So I will
that's
be invisible, which is why I'm gonna be pushing the release date, most likely.
okay. That it is. I mean,
Yeah.
it's sensible, because you don't want to get out there. I mean, marketing indie games is hard enough on its own normally.
Yeah.
But getting people to listen during November and December it's just sometimes like next to impossible.
Yeah, like with all the released titles, the new technology, everything like that, I'll be just like an ant compared to an elephant. So I completely agree with you. And honestly speaking, I need a little bit more time to polish the game. So it's not like I'm going to be sitting on it. So push it a couple of months. What's the worst that could happen?
Yeah, there's always that quote that a good game, or what a game is, it can be eventually good, but a early released game is bad. I don't know. I butcher it every time I do it, but it's from Shigeru Miyamoto talking about it's okay to push it out a little bit. That's absolutely fine. So in terms of like studio, like how big is your studio? How many folks are working on the project?
Just me.
Just you. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah,
Cut out there for
it's a
just
studio
second.
with a trade license, with the office and everything. But yeah, it's just me going there and working.
That's impressive. So you're doing all the art, all the code, all that kind of stuff?
Yes. I do use the asset store whenever I can, to like wherever it fits, as long as it fits the theme and that sort of general use, you can say. Like, my main rule when it comes to using assets is don't reinvent the wheel. If it's made before you, if it looks good, like a really nice bushy tree, I don't need to make it from scratch. I just use it, make sure it fits the theme, and go with it. When it comes to assets and 3D models, and when it comes to game design, coding, and that type of stuff, yeah, that's done completely by me.
So how big is the development community in UAE in general? I mean, is there a big indie ecosystem, or is it just studios here and there, or how big is it?
To put it in perspective, honestly speaking, I think I might be the only like console, and like I wouldn't say like triple A because I'm far from triple A, but I would be one of the very few studios that actually make console games or PC games, things that are not mobile and light, something like heavy. So the studios are literally, you can count them on one hand.
Wow, is that it? And that's like
And
all
3 of them make mobile games.
See, and that's why we've talked to folks before, and that's why I was thinking, you might be the predominant gaming platform was mobile, because the studios that we talk to, they all do mobile.
But they do mobile not because there's a lot of players. There is a lot of players. They do mobile because, as you know, lower development cost, lower time, less experience is fine. You can say, I don't mean to trash trash speak about them or anything. That's not what I mean. But doing mobile games has became a trend of like a cash cow sort of model, where you create the game, you release it, create the game, you release it, and look for the revenue to come in. It's a more valid business idea than a full-on studio that makes actual big games, which is why the direction is there, I believe.
So why do you think the development community, is so small in general, but even on the console PC side, it's as small as it is?
It costs a lot to create like an actual legit full-sized PC game, and people are just like companies and entrepreneurs are generally scared of going into a field that almost nobody knows about. So it's a matter of like you haven't seen, and imagine this, like you haven't seen anyone fully succeed before you in the region. So you're like just like, should I try it out? Should I bet on it on myself without actually having someone who did it before me? I think these questions actually occurred to me. That's why I'm mentioning them. So I believe these are the reasons. It's like higher cost, more development time, and more risk.
I mean, but that's true with a lot of different industries, but I can understand where, I guess, there are more people doing it, globally and in other areas. But I mean, we've talked to studios from Iran and Saudi Arabia and different places in the Middle East. And one of the things that we've heard is along those lines is, there's no one here locally that studios can learn from, that they can look to as, a mentor, so to speak, in the area.
Yeah. The lack of someone who holds the torch, like someone to look in the distance, like, yes, that guy made it. Just follow his path and we might make it as well. That's a bit missing. You don't have experienced developers here who have, like, you guys, I believe, like 10, 15 years in the industry, because the industry here is just basically an infant.
So all right, so first question, are you all still on lockdown from COVID, or are things kind of opening up again?
No, things are pretty open here. Like the malls are open, the swimming pools, and there's no quarantine. You just go wherever you want.
That must be nice.
They locked down my office for a month and a half, man. I was going psycho. I'm like, I'm paying the effing rent. Let me in.
Obviously, you had a government that took this seriously. We didn't. So has the aspect of, I mean, even like during lockdown, obviously we're seeing a lot more stuff go digital. And I believe the Dubai conference was a few weeks ago, but I don't know if they went digital or if they did.
Yeah, I was a speaker in it, actually. It's the they called DGC. Yeah, Dubai Gaming Conference. Yeah.
So was that virtual, or did they hold that in person?
No, it was fully digital. Like they streamed the whole thing for 3 days.
Do you think with the growth of digital events and a lot of the lectures online and things like that, it's going to help support that new indie development market? Or is it one of those that you're really going to need that team that's on the ground, showing success?
Speaking from my own opinion, I truly believe like developers need someone who actually made it before they just get more courage into it. They actually, like, I teach game design in a university here that teaches game development for a bachelor's degree. That's also very new. And it's like the students are all fired up, but they just need like someone who made it. I heard that complaints from a couple of them saying like, where are the studios here? Where can we get hired in the first place? And they get discouraged from that aspect. So you can imagine that it leaks out to many branches when in the thought process of becoming an indie developer.
Yeah, I mean, I hear that, and I see that in a lot of areas. The reason we do this show is to try to kind of knock some of that down and show that it's like we said last year when we were seeing so many layoffs and things like that. It's like, I can't, no matter what I do, I can't keep Activision and EA from shipping a product and launching losing 600 jobs. There's absolutely nothing I can do about that. But I can give those 600 people that got laid off, I can absolutely give them the tools that they need, to succeed, to do their own stuff, to self-publish, to, find a publisher that's going to, take the game and take it seriously. So I'm always interested to hear, what the challenges are and what the speed bumps are in the process. I mean, aside from that, role model studio, we can call it, what are some of the other issues, some of the other hurdles that you face that may be just like other indie devs around the world, or maybe, completely pertinent to your region?
You just said something. 600 people got laid off, for example, and those 600 people still live in that country as part of a previous studio. They have game development experience. Here, there are 0 people who got fired from the game development industry because there is no game development industry in the first place. So the lack of experience people is a huge factor. The lack of someone to ask, the lack of someone to look up to. Like there is absolutely no one for me to say like, hey, you worked in that studio. Can I come to visit? Can I see how you guys do things? What was your workflow? These questions remain unanswered. And like these things are, when it comes to face-to-face interactions, it's much easier to ask these things that are in the gray line of confidentiality, and like you shouldn't speak about it at all. So when you're face-to-face with someone who worked at like Ubisoft, you say like, hey, how was the studio? How do you guys do things? And he might be able to answer you because you're like in the friendly phase. But when you're speaking online, am I gonna send you an email after you get fired from Ubisoft? I'm like, hey guys, how was the development process there? What programs did you use? Nobody's gonna answer you. So that's the obstacle that I believe people face here when it comes to the lack of experience.
All right. So, and our friend Hitoshi down in Peru, he says he feels you because it's the same way in Peru. There's very few studios, and this is what we see a lot. So these are exactly the walls we're trying to knock down here. So for other folks that are listening now, and if you are out there, whether you're on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever, Twitter, wherever else we are, who did I forget? YouTube. If you've got a question for Ahmad or a question in general, toss it in chat. Our super fancy StreamYard software is going to show it to us no matter where you're from, and we'll get it answered live. So, for the folks that are listening now who are in the same situation that you are, walk us through your pipeline. So what do you use? I mean, obviously Unreal, but what other tools are you using in development? Not only because you don't, like you said, there's not that role model studio, but two, I mean, you're doing completely solo dev. So what do you do? What do you use?
Well, that's why it took me 4 years to make the jump from a civil engineer all the way to a full-time game developer, because what I was working on is the game, Shadow Dreams, yeah. But my main concept from the first day is that I wanted to automate everything. I want to create the perfect workflow from idea to modeling, animation, voiceover, whatever it is, until it gets into the game. So a part of that workflow is I searched and used tons of programs until I found like the perfect fit for me, and I learned it, integrated into the workflow, and that's how I'm able to create things as a one-man team, create things faster, create things better. So the programs that I'm using right now, you can say I can't remember all of them, even though I spend hours on them. But there's, for example, like ZBrush is essential, Blender, Cubase for audio recording. I use there's a really good bunch of softwares from Real Illusion, Character Creator 3, along with iClone, Live Face for the facial mocap. I got a motion capture suit recently as well, by the way. It's pretty awesome. What more softwares? There's a bunch. I don't know. There's a lot. But basically, the whole concept is to create a workflow from start to finish with these multiple softwares, learning them, and that's how you come up with the final product.
Wait, did you say you have a motion capture studio? Is that like your own, or do you have access to one?
No, I got a motion capture suit.
Oh, suit. I thought you said studio. And I'm like, you just have
No, I'm not that rich, man.
Yeah. It's like, holy shit, you're doing solo development, but you have your own. Okay. So, yeah. And here we are again. And Marco, who was on the show last week, said same way for him. He's in the Azores and there's no other company. And so, yeah, keep rocking it, man. So it is, no matter where you are in the world, there is somebody else who's going through the same thing. It may be like slightly different here and there, but at the end of the day,
definitely, yeah, 100%.
That's why that's why I love doing these things. It's like you're not alone. There are other. You might be alone in your town, but you're not alone on like the big scale. And I completely
there's always someone who's going through almost the same struggle. Like honestly speaking, recently I posted some stuff on Reddit of the game, the trailer, and that stuff. And people were asking like, "Who are you? What do you do?" and all these things. I'm still like, "Yeah, I was an engineer. I quit. Blah blah blah." And a couple of people commented the same thing, like, "Yes, I used to be an architect, and I quit, and I started becoming a game developer." And it's so odd how we all went through the same like journey without even knowing it.
Yeah, and that's why I always love it at the very beginning. Like, how did you get in here? Now, let's mention the other part of you being a civil engineer that you and Andy were talking about, just before we went live. Not only were you outside, it's 125 degrees Fahrenheit over there right now.
It is summer, so yeah. Like when it's springtime, it goes a few degrees down.
Like that explains it. It's like, well, it is summer. Andy, if you're talking, I think you're muted, dude.
I was talking. 50 Celsius, so it's 122 Fahrenheit.
No,
he was talking about how stoplights were melting a while ago. That's crazy. Make them out of metal.
It is made out of aluminum, but maybe like I don't know what they put in it, man.
That is crazy. Like the hottest it gets here is 85. And if it gets that hot, we're walking around going, "Oh my god!"
We get about 115 sometimes.
See, this is why I live in the mountains now.
You can do it. Like, and apart from being a civil engineer previously, is that I was a site engineer. So my work is in the site. It's not in an office. So you just like after a couple of hours in the heat, you just go numb, man. You're all like full of sweat, like really hot, it's humid. You want to die, but I'm like, okay.
See, Toshi can, attest to this because when I was down in Peru, I mean, it wasn't even 100. It was probably like in the 80s or 90s. I was down there in September or October, and there were a lot of folks because it was a Latin American conference. There were folks from the Caribbean and all over, and because it was 70s, 80s, I believe was the temperature. They were walking around in like legitimate coats and scarves, and I'm just sitting there going, just I mean, joking with them, but I am like dying laughing. But I said, all right, y'all just wait. When I get up there tomorrow to do my lecture and I'm in a suit, I'm going to be sweating because I can't. If it gets into like the 80s and 90s, I automatically start sweating because I'm not acclimated to it anymore.
I agree with you, but I hate the heat. I absolutely hate it, and I'm bored with you. So trust me, we're on the same page. But I don't know, like just coming back to the subject, like even though like the heat and all these aspects are like completely disastrous, I absolutely love being here as a game developer because it's just there's a very large spotlight on you if you create something noticeable, you can say, and that's what I like about it. Like if I get the opportunity to start my company, let's say in the States, I might just decline it and continue being here because the market here, when it comes to non-mobile development, it's still not flooded. There's more chance for you to actually make something out of yourself, and that's why I chose this location, and I'm deciding to stick to it.
So how does it, given that we deal with a global economy now, how elaborate more on that spotlight and how you can make something for yourself on a regional basis? Are there different options open to you on the sales side? Are there like government grants or anything, or is it more along the lines of, being that first breakout console developer, in UAE?
It's actually a mixture between a number of things, like the things you said. So it's a mix between all of them, kind of. Like you get more attention towards your work from, let's say, the media. If you reach out to them, they might answer you. So that's not bad, even though it's a very young, what's it called, career right here, being a game developer. The game development industry is very young. The government recently have been shining a bit of a spotlight on the developers. In recent events, they made a developer corner, which is usually doesn't happen. So they're starting to wake up toward that process. And I was just speaking to a company called 2454 in Abu Dhabi, which is also part of the government. Abu Dhabi is the capital of the UAE. And they're starting a gaming hub, actually, in there. They want to bring game development companies and put them in one place and turn that into the gaming hub of the UAE and hopefully the region. So there's more attention towards these things, you see.
Well, I mean, because it's getting to be, and I think that's where the pandemic, even on a global level, helped the industry. More people started playing games,
Exactly my point. Yes. I was just talking about it today, is that move might not have happened if the pandemic didn't actually hit and the government and the businesses started to look into something more digital. And what's more digital than a video game?
Yeah. So I mean, what's the esports scene like?
Oh, the esports scene is still also pretty young, but there is quite some movement. There's a number of teams, legit teams, that go to tournaments and do that type of stuff. I'm not very caught up with it, but I see that they're active, so that's good. They did one event a couple of months ago called the Girl Gamer, where it was a tournament for esports only for girls, for example. That's also very new. That's nice.
That is cool. That's actually really cool. I mean, you don't see that a lot around, and in terms of normalizing everything, because even though, I mean, the industry here in the States is 30, 40 years old. I've been doing this for half that time. And you still have that huge stigma of games are for 18 to 24-year-old men, boys.
Yes.
It's not. Yes. We're constantly trying to, let people know that it's not. It's really not. If you look at the whole market, that's a small fraction. The majority of gamers now are over the age of 35 and they're playing on their phones. They're not even playing Call of Duty and the console.
Yeah. I agree with you.
Yesterday, my wife and I were talking. I'm flipping through the news, and there's debate on where Ewok is going to land now that she's not under Mixer anymore. And I told my wife, I said, if anybody gets a big old fat contract out of this, I hope it's her, because she is doing fantastic stuff, just normalizing the fact not only for women gamers, but for gamers with disabilities, because she's completely deaf and she's ranked as the 8th best Fortnite player in the world. And it's
I actually haven't heard of her before, but that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, she's a part of FaZe. So yeah, look up. It's Ewok, but yeah, she's a member of the FaZe team. But that's where it completely makes sense on, the Middle East needs this breakout studio to be successful, because we see the very same thing in a lot of other underrepresented groups in the industry, globally. It's you need that champion to put forth and say, hey, look, we did it. You can do it. This is how you do it, type thing.
Yeah, I agree. Honestly speaking, that's one of the major things that's missing, and it would be pretty awesome if someone can actually do it.
Well, it can be you. Well, I mean, not on the girl gamer side.
Well, hopefully, man. Hopefully, that's the dream. But we'll see where it takes us.
So, where do you want to be, 2 years from now? And what are the things that you feel that you need to do on a personal and business level to get there?
I just really want this game to be a success, man. I've been working on it for about 4 years now, coming into the fifth, and I put a lot of thought into it, and I just really want to make it. I'm not even thinking a year ahead or like 2 years ahead. I'm just looking at the launch of the game, and I want it to be a success. And
so, have you got a Discord server set up yet? Oh, wait. Did we lose him? I think we lost him.
Yeah, he got frozen. Look at
It's a great screen grab, though.
Yeah.
You know.
All
All
right, should all just make faces like that.
We'll give him a second.
Yeah. Pum, pum, pum.
So what's up in your world, Andy?
Well, I am supposedly taking off this afternoon on a little trip. There he
Where
is.
you headed?
Up north, and it's like a motorcycle camping type deal. So we go someplace and then camp, and then the next day we go somewhere else and camp, and do that for 7 days. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it for 7 days. Let's see if I can add him here.
So do you have like one of those little things you pull behind your motorcycle?
A trailer? A trailer? No,
Yes.
I don't have a trailer.
am
I do have a
am I
tour
there?
pack, and I do have a tour pack and saddlebag. So
We just switched up to talk about Indy's vacation, this week. No worries there.
Oh,
Bob.
cool.
We knew we would get you back.
I was there. I didn't go away. I'm not sure what's the issue.
yeah, I certainly wouldn't be doing it in 122 degrees, though.
Yeah, no shit.
It's going to be hot enough in
Those
the
people
90s.
are crazy, Indy.
Yeah.
But it's just so funny seeing people surprised, and like, here it's like casual, man.
Well, that's the way it is here. It's like, in the winter, the wind comes across the top of the mountain at, 40, 50 miles an hour, like all day long. And we'll get in the negative teens for wind chill. And we're like, oh, yeah, it's just really damn cold outside. That's all there is to it. Yeah.
Yeah, like for example, we don't see snow, and our winter is a maximum of 77. I think that's the minimum.
That's wow. I can't. I can't do it. I just don't. I can't do the heat. You can only take off so much clothes before people start complaining. That's the problem. I can't. I can always put coats on. I can handle that part.
I do agree with you. Like I completely agree with you, man.
So I was getting into the prep for launch stuff. So have you got a Discord server? What have you been doing, or have you been doing anything at this point to market and promote the game?
Oh, yes, 100%. Like I've been contacting every single tech magazine I can think of, and I have not received any response yet. I'm not reaching out to YouTubers yet because the demo is not fully done to however I want it to be. So gameplay-wise, I'm holding off on it. But on the other aspects, for example, I'm sharing all the development through Instagram stories, posts, videos. The social media channels are all active. But I don't know. I'm just reaching a bit of a dead end when it comes to what do I do with the people. I send them to get the wish list done on Steam, which I launched maybe 2 weeks ago, along with a trailer, and I have about 100 wish lists now, which is pretty low.
But that's not bad.
I don't know. My aim is to have at least 5,000 wish lists. No, a couple of months, not weeks. So.
Oh, I thought you said okay. It's still. I mean, here's the thing. Go ahead.
No, listen.
I thought I interrupted you.
It's lag.
No, worries, go.
Okay. So, I mean, with your followers, with your wish list, all of this stuff, I mean, you have to start somewhere. I mean, look at our Discord server, for example. It's like Indy told me when we started the Twitch show, it's been 2 years. Have we been doing this 2 years, Indy?
I don't know. I've got gray hairs now.
You had gray hair when we started.
Just now the gray hairs came out, like just now.
Indie Game Gray Hairs. That's what it is. It's IGB actually stands for Indie Graybeard.
Yeah, it's like, oh, that's a good idea. I didn't think about that. Indy was like, we got a Twitch channel now. You got to get a Discord server. And I'm like, what the hell do we need a Discord server? There's like 8 people watching us on Twitch. And now there's like 1,200 people on, the Discord server. And so it's one of those where you always have to start somewhere. And, I talk to developers and we talk about, their social media footprint. Because that's one of the things that publishers are going to want to know. It's like, how many wish lists do you have? How big is your Instagram following? How many Twitter followers, Facebook, all that sort of good stuff.
I see. So these questions are actually quite important to a publisher, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, we get, so 2 or 3 years ago, if I took a game to a publisher and I'm like, and here's their Steam page and they're in early access, they would have been like, no, done, finished. And we still get publishers. We had a publisher like that yesterday. They said, well, the game's already been launched. It's like, no, it hasn't. It's in early access. So you still have publishers who consider early access a launch, and they don't want to touch anything after it's already been launched because they feel like they've lost the opportunity to market it and position it in the market. And
I see.
That's well and fine. That I don't agree personally, and a lot of other publishers don't agree because, now we send stuff out and one of the first questions we get back is, so how many wish lists do they have? Do they have a Discord server? How many people are on it? How many followers they have? So, one of the things that we always recommend developers put in their pitch deck is, what we call the social media footprint. How big is your community around this? Because that shows the publisher there's a following for this. There's interest in doing this. It's not something we're just doing in a vacuum. And so that's where
makes complete sense. I see. Yeah.
Yeah. So, your question on where to point them to Discord, start a Discord server, point them all to Discord. And
I'll get to it.
Discord, then you can
do all kinds of things. You can give closed access to people that are on Discord just because they're on Discord. You can offer perks. We got a question here from Nightwolf real quick, Jay. Do publishers see early access / alpha testing on itch.io as greatly different from an early access page on Steam? That is for you, Jay.
Yeah, they do. Because, for better or for worse, a lot of publishers don't take itch seriously. They don't look at it as a major means of distribution in the first place. So if I take the same game to the same publishers, but I'm, A/B testing it and saying, okay, look, this one's already playable on itch and this one's already playable on early access, I'll get more pushback about the early access than I will itch, because they don't look at it as a major competitor. Look, how many publishers do you know that actually release all their games that are on Steam on itch as well? Not many at all. So it's not nearly as big a deal when it comes time to publish and all that sort of stuff, or when they come in, they may want you to pull it from itch so it doesn't cannibalize sales somewhere else, or for any other variety of reasons. But no, I have never had a publisher tell me we don't want to look at it because it's already on itch, where I have had them tell me they don't want to look at it because it's already on early access. That's not saying they won't, and I won't find somebody like that, but I haven't had it to this point in my career. Crickets. So
that's very interesting. Yeah. I've never thought of itch, honestly. So did you? I'm not sure if releasing is such a good idea as the alpha. And you said that the publishers don't take it very seriously. Is it because it doesn't have a huge, paid system?
Yeah, they don't feel like they're losing, enough sales to it to really take it seriously. And,
okay.
The flip side of that is, it is a really good way to get feedback from from players. Because I mean, one of the things that we have seen in the last 6 to 9 months now is, a big concern among indie developers that without things like packs and, DreamHack, which are, much more focused on the consumer side, they don't have the opportunity to get their game in front of players, and they don't get that feedback that they get watching somebody sit there and play. And things like itch and early access and streaming in general is a good way to get that feedback, when you're not going to a show. Because you got to keep in mind, even if you're showing your game at PAX or DreamHack, it's not like you're getting a giant cross section of the industry. You're getting a very focused niche of a global industry that is based on gamers in that general area for that show, not something that has global distribution like itch. So I look at it as a good way of, getting feedback and getting some player input. But it's not, like I said, I'm sure there are publishers out there who are completely opposed to picking up something based on it's been launched on itch, because quite frankly, there's publishers out there that are completely opposed to putting out something for any number of reasons. But, I've never had a publisher say, no, we're not interested. So it looks like it's already on itch.
So do you think it's better to, for like looking for a publisher point of view, to like just instead of early access, have like closed beta, and then just like people in your Discord sign up for closed beta? So it's not like you can't just go on Steam and get it. You have to go through a whole process.
I'm not going to say it's better, because they both have pros and cons. They go along with them. It's going to get you more feedback and more answers from your target market, but it's not going to get you any big marketing push, because it's still a closed beta.
Right, but I mean also from the perspective of a potential publisher.
No, a closed beta isn't going to hurt you with a publisher. The main reason that some publishers, not all publishers, the main reason that some publishers have a negative view of early access is because the game is already out there in the wild.
And they missed that whole first big push.
Yeah. But I mean, frankly, I don't remotely agree with that mentality, because we're past the point in the industry where you have to do 3 to 6 months, or a AAA case, 9 to 12 months of, hype to magazines and to websites before your game launches. It's equally as important to have ongoing market and content and stuff like that after the game launches, to keep the game fresh, to keep people coming in. That mentality to me is antiquated, as much as we can say that, in an industry that's been doing this for 30 or 40 years, and a digital distribution industry that's barely over a decade old. That's just not the reality anymore. You not only have to do that marketing and user acquisition push early in development and up to launch, but you have to continue doing it after launch. And because you have to continue doing it after launch, it really doesn't matter if the game's already in early access. If anything, it's going to give you a barometer on the popularity of the game, and you can see the feedback and that sort of stuff. But it's not, if I was running a publishing company again, which I don't want to do, but if I was, I wouldn't have any qualms with early access games. I would be more likely to specifically target games that are in early access, because I can already see what some of the feedback is.
Oh, Nightwolf has something else here. Would publishers or hiring studios devalue itch.io games or support a large portfolio on itch.io versus 1 to 3 published on Steam, only small games, when coming to your reputation, skill, and trustworthiness?
That's a good question, Nightwolf. It's not something that they're going to. I don't think it's one or the other, although it's difficult because if you have a small launch on Steam and the publisher goes and looks at it and your reviews are in that dreaded mixed range or below, that's going to hurt you. If you've got 2 or 3 games that are out on itch already, it's not. I mean, they're going to want to see what the feedback is and what the ratings are. But I don't know that I can't say that they would devalue itch. So one of the things that put your mind in the world of a publisher, at the end of the day, their biggest concern is, are you going to finish the title and get it out there? Because whether they put in no money up front or $10 million up front, they're not going to get anything out of it unless it actually ships. And that's why you see a lot of publishers that don't want to do development funding and don't want to do minimum guarantees and things like that, because at the end of the day, they aren't sure that's going to happen. So they want as little risk as possible. And anything that you can show a publisher in terms of, here is something that we worked on and we released and it's out there, is going to help alleviate that concern. Does that answer your question, Nightwolf? It's so weird. I almost wish we could do these things with just people ask. Raise your hand and do voice.
Hitoshi says, I can relate to having a Discord server, but man, that can be big time consuming task, isn't it? Maybe do something smaller first, like email list or managing Twitter. Well, Discord server is like really the hub of where you want everyone. You want to guide everyone from your email list and your Twitter to your Discord, because then that's where you can manage everything.
So Ahmad, you went this from the other angle, and you started on social media first. What do you think? Because to me, I'll put my 2 cents in. Managing a Discord server isn't as hard as managing social media.
But here's the thing, like for me, honestly, there is a couple of applications that you can use as a developer to really help your social media outreach. For example, there's one called Buffer, I think, where you can schedule. That's what I do. I schedule my posts from here to 2 weeks. It takes me about 1 hour. I put all the screenshots with the description, with the hashtags for YouTube, LinkedIn, not YouTube, sorry, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and that stuff, and just let it be. And that's social media. In 1 hour, I covered 2 weeks of content. So social media is actually not bad once you get the hang of it. And if I may add to the concept, in my opinion, I think having a website is also extremely important, which is why I started that a long time ago. And through the website, I collect I have the mailing list. It has about 700 people in it right now. And I send them a couple of emails a month, updates about the game, what to do. Here's the trailer, have a look at it, feedback, and promos. If you want to be in the closed beta, sign up here. So it's a mix of everything. Yeah, it's all time consuming. So I think just if you're a one-man team, just go with the flow and try to find tools that cut the time of these time-consuming tasks.
All right, and I will say
Discord, I don't have much experience in it, honestly speaking.
Sorry, go ahead. What was that?
Yeah, I'm saying Discord, I don't have much experience in it, honestly.
For an indie studio that is run by one person and has not launched a game yet, 700 people on your email list is fantastic. That's
I started it 3 years ago.
Following.
You started it 3 years ago.
I know, but still, that's a solid following, to have, because the main thing is not when you started it, but it's the fact that you're not going in and you have a base in general. So, when we talk about building email lists, we always talk about the lead magnet. And so our lead magnet, if you go to our site, the little thing pops up, says, do you want our list of 700 publishers? And we put it out there because it's beneficial, but also it helps us grow our email list and our newsletter. And, having that thing where you're saying, okay, sign up for the newsletter and you're getting updates on the game and closed beta. That's a much harder sell. It's not like your Larian Studios who can say, hey, look, we did all these Divinity games. Now we're doing Baldur's Gate 3. And if you want Baldur's Gate 3, sign up for our email list. That's an easy win. But I mean, you've got a much harder, road to climb being a new studio and being, one person doing everything. So I don't want to discount the fact that 700 people on your mailing list, even if it's three years in, that's good. That's nothing to.
Thank you very much. And also, just if I may add, when it comes to the marketing aspect, from my own experience, showcasing the game at conventions has been a huge thing. Because 3.5 years ago, when I first got my first prototype out, like ready to be played, I had no idea if the game is worth investing in. I didn't know if the game is worth putting the effort in. And that's when I showcased it for the first time ever at a convention. And people were interested. They were like, where can I sign up? Where can I put my email? And jump to the next year, the demo was more polished, and I'm like, let's.
And guess that's what happens sometimes.
Okay, good. That's not just me.
Yeah, no. Not to rain on that parade of like I went to a conference and everyone loved my game, but I have heard many instances of they're like, yeah, we would go take our game to a conference and everybody loved it and everybody played it and people were lined up, and then they went to sell their game and nothing happened. Right? I mean, sure, it feels good to go to a conference and everyone checks out your game, and I don't mean to like totally rain on his parade or anything, but that has happened multiple times.
It does. There's that episode of, and while we're waiting for him to catch up, let me see if I can't pull it up.
We got a question real quick. I can do that.
Okay.
Well, there's a couple questions. First one is, do you need to engage with an email list so that people don't forget about it? And then another question is, and this is an easy one for you, do you think virtual conferences will be the new marketplace? All right, let's go with the first one. You need to engage with your email list.
So I mean, here's the reality, John. That email list doesn't do you any good if you're not talking to them. And at the same time, if you're not going out there and talking to them and they're not, fully engaged and responding, then it's not doing you any good either. And so that's why unsubscribes from your email list aren't necessarily a horrible thing, unless you're getting like a 20% or even truthfully like a 10% unsubscribe list. There's no point in having that list if you're not using it to sell or to educate or to whatever your goal is. So people aren't going to forget about it, because I can't remember ever unsubscribing to an email list that I just had gone, well, I haven't heard from this email list in 2 months. I'm going to unsubscribe to it. Generally, it's, emails come in and they're too frequent, or it's stuff I don't care about, or it's some politician, whatever. And that's the ones I unsubscribe from. And when you get the unsubscribes, don't take it personally. Don't take it too bad. That's somebody who wasn't interested. They're of no value to you anyway, so don't worry about it. But yeah, I mean, you need to engage your email list to keep it healthy, and you need to engage it to actually do the things that you meant it to do as an email list. Hey, Mark.
I love my PR and publisher email list that I get. Different games all the time. Sometimes it's a little too much of the same thing, but I love getting those. I'm like, yeah, let's see what this company has right now going on, or this one.
All right. So
am I still on?
Yeah, you're on.
Yeah.
You are.
Yeah.
You cut out for a minute, and now
it's
you're
odd
back.
because I'm still seeing you and hearing you, but it's weird. But anyway, if I may add on that point, yes, you do make a very good point. People will definitely blow smoke up your, when it comes to showcasing your game. They're gonna be like, oh, such a great game, people are lining up, and then it doesn't sell. I do agree with you, which is why I decided to take it a step further and open the concept of pre-ordering the game in the convention. And that was like 3 years ago.
That's a good idea.
So I to see who's serious and who's not. And I was genuinely surprised when people actually pre-ordered the game. That was 2 years ago, and the first time I opened the pre-order concept. Not many people, about 20, but that's not bad for a 2-day event.
No,
And
and there you've got people who are, putting their money where their mouth is, and they're actually pre-ordering it. That's extremely valuable. All right, so
But I
that's
also
what I
guess
was searching for.
it
Exactly.
depends. Like, if it costs you $5,000 to go to a conference and rent a booth and and then you get 20 pre-orders, I'm not sure there's
Some
value.
conferences here are much cheaper. No, it
Right.
doesn't go within that range of renting a booth, honestly.
Yeah, but like to go to GDC or something for a game developer, it's easily
Oh,
going to
no, I'm
cost
speaking about
$5,000.
local conventions here. Like we
Oh,
have
okay, yeah.
Comic-Con and Gamescom happening here in the country. So
Nice.
my investment is not very high.
Nice.
All right, so going to your point about people telling you that your game is great. This episode of the show called Magic for Humans on Netflix, what they did was they had, it's kids, and so but it's still a very accurate glimpse into what happens. They had a singer on television, and they said, okay, we want you to rate or review the singer, based on her audition here. And it wasn't good. I mean, it was intentionally not good.
Okay,
And the kids were brutal, in their feedback. It's horrible, she doesn't need to do it, blah, blah, blah. And, he took the results. It was like 4 kids. He took the results and, read them back. It was just him and the kids in a room. And so then he goes, okay, I got a surprise for you. She's actually in the other room. And so he brings her in. He says, okay, now I want y'all to give her, the same feedback that you gave me. And all the kids just like broke. And it was like, well, yeah, we thought it was okay. We kind of liked it. And it goes to show the difference, between people being nice because you're standing there.
Yeah.
People actually really, if they come and play the game at an event and then they actually pre-order it, then yeah, you got them. That's what you want. But otherwise you can't. You have to take in-person feedback with a giant grain of salt, because humans, aside from sociopaths and people like me, have a problem telling someone to their face that I don't like it.
Oh yeah, I've had many people tell me the game is shit. It's completely that also happened. Like it's not very rare. But you just have to filter it and see, like, because most of the time, honestly speaking, like when I got that feedback, 50% of the time it was because the person is completely like out of his mind and he didn't even try the game. He was just like completely rude. And the other half, they were completely honest, and I traced the problem back to my game design and how I introduced the game, and I refurbished the whole demo again. And the problems that made people not like the game initially faded away. So every year it kept getting better and better and better and better, because in my opinion, that's why I love the game design aspect the most out of the whole development thing, is because it has a huge impact. No matter what your graphics are, your mechanics, whatever they are, as long as the game design it, if it's not all right, if you're not training the player correctly to the mechanics, your game will absolutely fail.
I agree. All right, so what was the other question, Andy?
Do you think virtual conferences will be the new marketplace?
All right, I'm biased.
That's from Smog the Cat on YouTube.
I mean, no time soon. There is still very much a need to get out and show your stuff in public. And I mean, you could argue that virtual conferences are already the new marketplace if you define virtual conferences by Steam as a marketplace. There's a lot of range in there. But the question in my mind, and one that I always pose back to developers is exactly what Ahmad just said. It's not getting on a plane and flying halfway around the world and dropping 10 grand to be able to show your game to people at GDC or even PAX for that, matter, which isn't going to cost you as much, but it's still not cheap. It's going to the local ones and making sure it's something that's affordable. Like Dan said, if you go and you dropped $5 grand to go and showcase at an event and you sold 20 copies, that didn't pencil. That didn't make sense for you. But if you're not spending that much money and it's something locally or regionally, that's when, yes, it does make sense. And you are going to sell units. You're not going to sell nearly as many as you are, on a global scale. But, there is a good benefit out of that. And Hitoshi is a great point, is look at the reactions when playing, and don't say a word. And so what virtual system does that for free? Streamers. Watch streamers play your game, especially ones that have a camera on their face. That's how you're going to get feedback. You can see exactly what they're doing. You can see where their frustration is, and it's not costing you anything. I think Ahmad's chopping again.
Yeah, he's locked up again.
It's the pipes going from, UAE over here to the US are getting clogged right now. That's probably what it is.
It's coronavirus.
So what other questions? Well, Ahmad's he just popped out and now he's gonna pop back in. There we go. Oh crap! I just accidentally removed him.
Hey, sorry about that. I have no idea what's happening. But just to add on the point that you were saying, and as Hitachi commented, I actually did this in one of the conventions. I attached the webcam on top of the screen, and I hand people the gamepad, and I just leave them. And I have the recording of 2 full days, and I just went through it along with the gameplay in the corner, and I went through the points where they got stressed out, what happened, they got confused, and that's how I fixed my game design. Yeah. So he does make a very valid point.
And that's actually a really, really good idea. And that way you can go, because the other thing about conferences, and this is whether it's virtual or reality wise, I have, notebooks full of notes from even virtual events. You forget. There's so much going on, you don't.
Yes.
And
definitely.
And sit back and look at that video later. Now here's the question, Ahmad. Was that video synced up to what was going on the screen?
Yes, the gameplay was on the bottom left corner while the camera of the player playing is the big one. How streamers do it, same concept. So I had the software set up so the gameplay and the person playing are synced up completely while recording.
See, yeah, that's it. And that's how
That's a great idea.
Focus testing back in the old days, like the 90s and the early 2000s, except we had to pay companies a ton of money to bring people together and then pipe us these reactions. And now it's all marketing. So
throw in a webcam and you're good to go now.
Yeah, that's it. So, but that is actually the key to it, because it's it's better than nothing. If you see people who are constantly frustrated the whole time, then yeah, you got an issue, but you need to have it synced up to what they're doing to see, how many clicks and, was there a certain part of the game that wasn't clear, and it can be very simple. Case in point, my son's playing through the PS4 Spider-Man game right now, and he called me because he was having trouble on one of the little electrical puzzle things.
Yeah.
And I sat down with it and I'm like, and then he goes, well, maybe we should go back and do the first one first. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, well, I just jumped straight in and I opened up, test number 10. And I'm like, well, typically these things are built in a, cascading level of complexity. So if you start at the first one and you learn a little bit about the mechanics and you go down, it gets easier. And he didn't. He just jumped straight into like the 10th one and was like, I can't figure this out. And I'm sitting there looking.
That was kind of like how I played Skyrim. First time I played Skyrim, I took a left turn and I didn't even realize that you could go and get magic until like level 30.
You're like, go to the dragon, kill him.
I mean, to be fair, Skyrim's magic system wasn't that great in the first place, so you probably didn't miss out on all that much.
Yeah, but I didn't get my Fus Rodan until like level 30.
Oh, you skipped all the time. Oh.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
He was going in with a knife.
I didn't get my Fus. I didn't even know there was a Fus. So
that's the whole point. So you can hoof people off the cliff. I mean,
no, I just was like fighting with swords and stuff.
If I may add on the point of virtual conferences, by the way, I absolutely hate them. Just putting it out the window. Virtual conferences suck, man.
That's the. All right. So why do you hate virtual conferences?
I don't know. When I compare them to the actual conference, I feel like the soul is not there. I don't mean to sound like too magically around it, but meeting someone face to face is just different from the virtual one.
Tell us what you really think. Jay's over here laughing.
You're not wrong. I'm of course I'm going to disagree with you. I've been running digital conferences for almost 2 years now, but you're not wrong. It's one of those things.
I'm sorry about being completely. That's just my view on things.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
You do miss out on that, and I miss going and seeing my friends in the industry in person as well. And we can do things like this and we can interact in video chat but it's still not the same. And so I do.
That's the thing. Like, I'm sorry if I said like I hate them. It's not hate. It's more of like it's not the same. Yeah, that's the better wording for it.
This is just that face-to-face thing right now that you were just talking about, Jay.
Yeah, now he's backpedaling. And it's like, well, it's not really. It's not
you work with what now? Okay, yes, I love it. Absolutely.
They suck. That's the only problem with it. I don't disagree with you. The benefit the reason we started doing it was to make it easier for developers like you and Hitoshi to meet some of these publishers.
Exactly my point. Yes, that's the pros of it. There's a lot of pros in it. 100% agree with you. Being able to go to whatever convention in the other part of the world and just opening the screen and logging in and talking to people, that's amazing. But it's just the face-to-face interaction is unreplaceable in my opinion.
And getting a beer with your friends and all of that sort of stuff as well. I mean, no, it's not. I don't ever think we're going to, at least in the short term, see situations where live conferences no longer take place, and we're all Ready Player Oneing into these virtual landscapes. It's not in the near future. Now, if COVID keeps, doing laps around the planet and we all get to the point where we can't get within 6 feet of each other for eternity, then it might be a problem and we might need to solve it quicker. But always, I mean, that is a reality. You're always going to, we're people. We need to be around other people. But at the same time, it's a hell of a lot cheaper and a hell of a lot more accessible to get on a Zoom call than it is to,
to fly all the way, get the visa, get the booth, get the hotel. Yes, I 100% agree with you. Definitely. And that's helped me out a lot in meeting a number of really nice companies with a couple of conventions that I attended. So I 100% agree, yeah.
All right, so
Nightwolf says, are you sure in the near future we'll be able to be done in VR chat? I think there's been some VR chat conferences.
Yeah, but you're still, the thing about VR chat is now you've gone from limiting your audience based on geography or, budget in a live event to limiting it on a virtual basis based on connection or time of day or, all the hurdles that we fight in the virtual conference realm. When you do virtual reality, now the only people that are going to be able to go to your show are people with virtual reality headsets, which if you're doing a VR, AR conference, there you go, knock it out, run with it. That's all you got to do. But until as many people have VR access as they have mobile phone access, no, it's not. You're not reaching enough people. The install base is far too low.
But there have been VR conferences already.
Yeah, there have been.
Right. That's what he's saying. Would it be able to be done in VR chat? And it has. It's been done in VR chat.
Yeah, I mean, because quite literally, most of the stuff that you see in Ready Player One, in the book or in the movie, aside from licensing issues, we have that tech. You know, there are haptic bodysuits. There are treadmills that run in all these different directions where you can do all the stuff that you need to get done. Now, you're probably looking at $10,000-$20,000 or more.
And it's super primitive.
Yeah, in equipment, but it does technically happen. But it's not, you know, the thing about a conference, no matter what industry you're in, is it's about the ability to bring a lot of people interested in, you know, whatever the conference is about together. And you want as many people there as possible so they can share ideas and network and meet and all this stuff. And we're nowhere near doing that on an effective level unless your conference is literally for people who have VR headsets.
I actually was recently contacted by someone who works with the Dubai government, and they would like to run a VR conference for game developers. So the points you make are valid, and what I suggested to them is that how about the conference being a hybrid, that you can actually do it in VR and you can do it as a normal video game. So where you chose your avatar and you walk through the conference, so this way you can attract both the VR audience and the normal audience. And I told them, like, how about you sell a bundle that comes with a VR headset, like the Quest, for example. Like, I suggested these type of things to them. So I believe it's possible, but for now, I think we might need to go with a hybrid concept of VR plus normal at the same time.
For sure.
Yeah, I agree. So at the real conference, then, would we have a bunch of robots on wheels going around with a camera? So would that symbolize the person, or how would they be doing it and doing their meetings?
They have an avatar.
No, I mean, like the VR experience can be played without a VR headset. That's what I mean.
Oh!
It's just like a first-person shooter.
Exactly. Yes.
I thought you were talking about hybrid in the sense that, you know, we had people at a real conference and people that were there in VR at the same time.
Oh, that's a double hybrid.
In that case, you should have said, like, what the hell, man? That's a bad idea.
Then if you find the robot or the person that you don't like, you just knock it over and there's nothing they can do about it. You know,
right.
Put a stick in the wheel.
Hi, Ali, and welcome.
Today, Indy, I stuck you in a corner and put a brick behind your wheel.
Yeah.
This is awesome. So we've already gone an hour and a half. Indy, you're probably gonna have to break this one up into two, episodes. But
2 45-minute ones will be
absolutely fantastic. And so the other thing that I was going to say is Toshi brought up a good point about, Chris had said that, he did the experiment where he was recording people's reactions as they were shopping on Steam. If you want to do something, I would say go to the Discord, and if you want to do something like that, we have channels for developers seeking streamers and streamers seeking developers. I would highly encourage you to seek out some streamers and say, look, here's a key to the game. Even
I want to watch you play.
I want to watch you play it so I can see what your frustrations are. Hello. Was that completely bad idea? Was there
No.
Okay. All right. Anyway. So and hi, Ali. I'm John says, are there bodysuits that let you feel touch? I don't
the first question is, why do you want it?
What kind of touch do you want to feel exactly?
Guarantee you there is a haptic suit out there that somebody in the porn industry is using.
Bum, bum, bum.
If that's what you're asking.
Google it now. I want to Google it.
Then you Google yourself. Yeah.
Just don't share the screen, yeah.
Yeah. There's a preview from this haptic suit lets you touch and feel virtual reality. It's from February of last year.
That sounds sketchy.
And here's one that is just like absolutely ripe for a lawsuit. It's called the Tesla suit. So yeah, I'm not crazy. These things are already out there. Whether or not they work or not might be a completely different thing. But I mean, yeah, they're out there.
Pretty soon, they're going to be all over.
Reaction full wetsuit.
Yep. All right.
I bet it doesn't feel that good.
Well, it's one of those things. I'm telling you, it's gonna start off with a very dedicated player base. Ahmad, dude, thanks for staying up late and for hanging out with us today, man.
No, thank you for having me. It was really fun, and I appreciated that you guys have a lot more experience than me, and you had me as a guest, I would say, like a new person in the career. So I really appreciate your knowledge. Thank you for all the info.
Well, hang out with us on the Discord server. I know you said Discord's a little wonky sometimes, where you are, but it's a great place whether you have a lot of knowledge already or you just, need to learn something. There's plenty of folks there who are happy to answer.
Will do.
All righty. Andy.
All right. So take us out. So check it out, you guys. Get free access to the speakers and sessions at the Meet to Match in Indie Game Business San Francisco Summer Edition 2020 virtual conference that we know someone doesn't like. And I totally just
be there because he's a hater.
No, actually, you'll have to come and check it out. You go to indiegame.business. You can check it out there. Like us on our Facebook and Twitter. Facebook is Indie Game Business, and Twitter is Business Indie. Join our Discord, which we've been talking about. discord.gg/indiegamebusiness. And listen to all of our past and future podcasts at anchor.fm Indie Game Business, or you can just search for Indie Game Business, and there will be a bunch of podcasts that you can find and listen to on all different platforms.
Hey, if we can listen to our future ones, do we need to still keep recording these, or are they already out there?
We can. They're already out there. They're out there. We just have to record them as of yet.
All right, I'm gonna toss this nugget in before we leave. Something I am very excited about at the show. One, I mean, we said the other week that Anya is going to be here from Kickstarter. She's director of games, both digital and board games.
And that's the week after next, right?
Oh, well, she's going to be on the show, but she's also giving a lecture, everything you ever want to know about Kickstarter, at the event. Mm-hmm. But I got a thumbs up and a confirmation from my friend Phil Adam that he and Jason Enos, now of Intellivision, are going to be doing our keynote. Phil's been doing this a long time. He's got some awesome stories. I mean, he was the one at Interplay back in the day who signed BioWare and Baldur's Gate and all these great games. And so he and Jason are going to be doing a chat, at the event, talking about their experience and how you basically build a reputation and a network in this industry over the course of 20 or 30 years. And I am personally excited about that one to be there. And I'm not even going to be in it. I'm just going to let those two riff it and tell stories, because it's some of those folks that even I look up to in the industry, because I was playing their games long before I worked in this industry. So I'm just excited about that part.
And that's on the 4th, 5th, and 6th. So the keynote will be on the 4th, right?
No, we're not doing the whole keynote kickoff thing. The keynote will be whichever one, wherever they want to put it. Okay. I don't have the staff to be really building tracks of talkers. It's everybody gets access to the Google Calendar, and the speakers get to pick their own time because they're coming from all over the world. So I don't want to tell somebody they need to be up at 5 a.m. and giving a lecture. It's hey, find the time that works for you. And But tickets are, if you just want to come and hang out and listen to the lectures and ask questions, even more important, they're all going to be, all these things are going to be Q&A. The ticket's free. It's absolutely free. Just go sign up, get your ticket, and you're good to go.
Excellent. All right. Thanks so much, Ahmed. And thanks, Jay.
No
problem. We'll this post will be, this podcast will be up here pretty quick. And if you're listening to the podcast, well, it's already up. So,
all right, everybody, have a good weekend. Wear your face mask. Thank you, Ahmad. Keep in touch and keep us posted. I wish listed the game a little while ago, so we're good.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me, and have a good day, I think. Or not, night?
Yeah.
Afternoon?
It's morning for me, afternoon for him.
And night for me. So we're all over the world.
All righty. Y'all have a good weekend. Thanks, everybody.
Take care.